Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well and welcome on in to your Friday. It's February 20th of 2026. I want to welcome on into the program Christine Czernejewski.
Yeah, I'll help you out there.
You know, Christine, I have been practicing that all morning and I shanked it when I had you on the air. Is it Czernejewski?
Czernejewski, close enough.
All right, close enough. Very good. I love what what your expertise is. Your expertise is finding the bias in media journalism. There was a not so surprising story this week that Apple News, we've been so popular, busy this week that I didn't have a chance to cover this, but Apple News, the news aggregator that comes pre-installed on every iPhone in America, apparently overwhelmingly promotes content from liberal outlets. So how bad was this bias? Is this bias?
Well, I have to give credit to our friends, Mediapedia's friends at Media Research Center. They're a media watchdog. They put this study together, and what they found is in January, of 620 stories featured in high traffic slots in Apple News, 440 came from left-leaning outlets, 180 from centrist sources, and 0 from right-leaning outlets. So they've really been banging the drum on this issue. Good for them. And where Mediapedia, my organization, comes into play is we are trying to shed light on this very issue of media bias. We provide bias ratings for hundreds of reporters from legacy media outlets, soon to be thousands of reporters. And the goal really is to help consumers understand the bias behind the bylines. These are people that are, shaping the stories of our day, of our lives, and they're often coming at these stories with a particular perspective. So, it's incumbent upon news consumers to try to detect that bias, and we're making it easy for them by becoming a one-stop shop for all things media.
Well, and I believe probably to your credit, you're looking for bias on either side of the issue, right? So, you're not just going after predominantly leftist journalists, which is basically most of them are, but I'm assuming that if there is someone who is on the right that is also incredibly biased, you're going to mention that as well.
Well, we are a startup, so we've had to prioritize, and we started with legacy media outlets because even though the media ecosystem is much more fragmented than what it used to be, legacy media, mainstream media still has a ton of influence, and this Apple News story is proof of that. So we did start with rating the bias of reporters at those legacy media outlets, but certainly we are going to extend our reviews to reporters from right-leaning and left-leaning outlets. Look, what we say at Mediapedia is bias in and of itself isn't inherently bad. Everyone, even reporters, come at things with a certain perspective. The problem for journalism is when reporters pretend to be center or objective, and they're not. And our ratings are helping shed light on the discrepancy in that kind of reporting and where a reporter portends to be.
Well, you're so right. And it's funny, you hit on something that I've been talking about for years, which is these media outlets do pretend that there is no bias in their reporting when you can absolutely tell that they're biased in not only the things that they do report, but also the things that they leave out of their reports. You brought up the editor-in-chief of this Apple News app that comes preloaded on Apple phones, on iPhones. So she is the leader. This is how she's described. Her name is Lauren Kern. She's described as the leader of a team that selects the news that tens of millions of people read. Again, Lauren Kern. She's described as more of a liberal-based journalist. She has a lot of power because at the Apple News, they pick their news stories by hand, if you will. They don't use algorithms.
That's right. Right. It all comes with that woman's, and her team's editorial judgment. And she comes from a very left-leaning background. So it's probably no surprise then that Apple, in their daily, algorithm of news stories that they're promoting, then is left. And like I said, there's a great fragmentation in media. 25 years ago, the nightly newscasts, ABC, NBC, CBS combined got around 30 million viewers a night. That number is now roughly half. So, we can applaud the fact that our media ecosystem is much more vibrant and we do have a lot more conservative sources. But it's problematic when something like, an app like Apple News is still deriving the news that people see from those legacy media outlets. So, news consumers really have to be aware of that. Hopefully, people will put pressure on Apple to change that and to provide a diversity of news perspectives.
Well, yeah, and you just brought up a great point, which is awareness of the bias. So we're talking about news aggregator that comes pre-installed on Apple iPhones, Apple News app. And it, again, very much promotes content from liberal outlets. And I think that media literacy is something that, even though this is something that the left has always talked about, people need to be media literate. And I understand. I believe that they need to as well, because people need to recognize that there's a lot of bias coming from the left. The left is always picking on, for example, Fox News, and people will say, well, people need to understand that Fox News is very conservative, so on and so forth. Well, people need to understand that the vast majority of media outlets out there are coming from a leftist perspective. Do you think that people are beginning to understand, especially younger people, are beginning to understand this bias, or is there still a lot of work to do?
Well, yes and no. I do think that news consumers are far savvier than they used to be, and they know that certain media has bias. But even for people who, like me, who do this for a living, it can be, if you're reading something quickly, you're in a hurry, and many people are, they want to be informed. So they're just trying to get the headlines of the day, or maybe just perusing or skimming an article. It doesn't always, the bias, it doesn't always pop out, like it's not just in your face. Some stories are. So it can be very pernicious. And that's why Mediapedia.org's ratings are a helpful tool, because you'll see that by and large, the stories that are coming out of the New York Times, the Washington Post, they absolutely lean left.
I want to ask you who are some of the biggest offenders coming up next, and I'm thinking maybe the New York Times might be at the top of the list, a Washington Post as well. I'm also going to ask you some of the things that people should watch out for when they're reading some of these articles, because I think that people should become more literate on this bias. All right, so who are some of the biggest offenders of news bias so far that you found?
Well, for these big outlets that we mentioned that say that they're objective, like the New York Times and the Washington Post and the LA Times, and they do, in fact, have a left-leaning bias. But what I would say is maybe an outlet itself skews left. You really have to look at the individual reporter. There are some reporters that I would say are I wouldn't even call them traditional journalists. They're more or less activist journalists, where they truly are pushing a certain viewpoint, almost like an extension of the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Those, to me, are the worst offenders, and they're the ones that can be hugely influential in the big stories of the day on the economy, healthcare, and what have you. And so those are, I think, in those cases, as I mentioned before, it's so important to have a balanced news diet, see what the other side is reporting, and see what new information you can find in stories that you had maybe consumed from USA Today or the Times.
One of the things that I've always noticed, and I don't know if this is an example that I would point to, but you'll have the headline. The headline can be, incredibly deceiving, but way down at the bottom of a story might be sort of an explainer where they will throw in there something that gives the other side, knowing full well that people rarely, if ever, read to the bottom of an article.
Oh my gosh, that I can't tell you how much that frustrates me. Where you'll read a story, it's portraying a person say as, being incredibly unfair, vicious, what have you, something very negative, right? And then you're right, you get to the bottom, and that's where you get the opposite viewpoint. But if you hadn't read to that last graph or last couple of graphs, you wouldn't have had that perspective. And so that definitely is a way in which news can be manipulative. I'll also say that, we provide a media analysis of big stories or stories that the media isn't covered. And we do have a lot of fun doing that. I just want to point out one, with the Olympics wrapping up, we did an analysis of Olympics coverage. And, Eileen Gu, who's this popular skier, she is skiing, she's an American, and she's skiing for China. And she's been glorified by mainstream news. She's getting, all these glamorous profiles and whatnot. And then you ask other skiers about their views of America, and they question America and almost sort of bash it. So it's almost like our mainstream reporters are setting out to glorify someone who's competing for China, yet putting American Olympians in a position where they want to bash America. It makes no sense.
Let me ask you this. This was in the headlines recently. We all talked about it here on WTN. People talked about this everywhere. Don Lemon goes into that church in Minnesota, and it's almost like he embedded himself with these activists. And he goes in with them, and it's all on video. He's very proud of it. He embeds himself with these activists. They go into this church. They disrupt this church proceeding as they're in the middle of their service, and they just start chanting. Don Lemon starts actually arguing with people inside of the church regarding ICE in Minnesota and so forth. And it was clear. You mentioned activism journalism. To me, that's what Don Lemon was doing. He goes in there. He's embedded with these people. He talks about how much he loved the woman that was leading the charge. And then he starts arguing with people inside the church about ICE. And he's obviously negative on ICE and feels like ICE shouldn't be in Minnesota, et cetera. So Lemon is saying, listen, man, I was just a journalism. I don't believe that Lemon was acting as a journalist. I believe that he was acting, at best, an activism journalism is what he was partaking in.
Yeah, if Don Lemon can use that as an excuse that he's hiding behind the cover of being a member of the Fourth Estate, who's to say that other people couldn't use that argument as well? Because in that case, he certainly wasn't acting like a journalist. A journalist would, first of all, be questionable whether a journalist should even be in that church. But second of all, if he truly was acting as a journalist, then the role would be to observe what's going on, to interview people in the church, and then to report on what happened. And you're absolutely right. Instead, he's out there pushing his own agenda under the guise of being a journalist. So I think, we're at a point now where there's a very murky definition of what journalism is. And, I don't have the answer to that right now. That's something that's going to have to work itself out. But again, that's why we think tools like ours are so important, because it can help people better understand the bias behind the people who get to write the first draft of history.
Okay. What do you think of someone like Nick Shirley? Would you call him a journalist? Would you call him a citizen journalist? What do you call him?
Yeah, again, that's a good question, and another one that journalism as a field is going to have to sort this out, because I guess you could call him a citizen journalist, but actually he did the work, the old-fashioned journalistic work that journalists used to do, of on-the-ground reporting, actually going to sites and seeing what is or is not going on. And that is why he was so impactful, because journalists today are kind of an elite bunch. They don't like to actually travel to the locations of which they're reporting about. He did that, and he provided the citizens of Minneapolis and really America a great service. And that ultimately is what journalism should do. But, it's hard to put people these days in neat boxes. I think it's an interesting dynamic going on in the fourth estate, and we've got to find a way to restore integrity to it because it's just so important.
Christine, I think that you are someone, I just listening to you very closely, you are someone that appreciates journalism and you want journalism to be important. Do you believe that journalists will learn from their experience with Nick Shirley?
I think they're going to have to. I think as more and more people are gravitating towards alternative sources of news and the big corporate media companies are bleeding money. We just saw what happened with the Washington Post and 300 reporters were let go. They were losing $100 million a year. So people have wisened up. They want to know what's going on in their own backyard. They want to know about how their taxpayer dollars are being used. And if journalists aren't doing their job, people will respond accordingly. So my hope is that we do get back to that old school reporting. It's just so desperately needed, especially in today's environment.
All right, real quick. How can people find out about Mediapedia? Are you on the socials, Twitter? Where can people find you?
We are Mediapedia.org. That's our website. You'll see over 1,000 reporter profiles. And as I said, the secret sauce is our media bias ratings. We've got other content on there, video analysis of news of the day. We're on all the socials. Check us out. Give us feedback. We would love feedback. We want people to have fun with the site and to engage with it.
All right. Love what you do. Thank you for joining us here on Nashville's Morning News.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. 8:23, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan is a real journalist.
I love that interview. I love what she's doing.
Don't you just love what she's doing? I really like Mediapedia.org is where you can find them. Sam was telling me because they have the relationship with, who was it she was saying she was having the
I believe
the
Media
partnership?
Research Center?
Media Research Center, MRC.
Yes.
That also is a great organization. So, yeah, I love what they do, and Mediapedia.org. And, again, you can find them on all of the socials. Next time I have her on, I'll know that her last name is Czernejewski, I think is what she said.
Czernejewski.
Yeah.
Czernejewski.
Yeah.
I'll call her Christine. Good morning to your friends, and welcome on into the Crisscross Handoff.
Hey, Dan.
Cool vibe music.
Yeah, we always have, we shift the energy.
The energy shifts.
The energy shifts during the Crisscross Handoff.
Yeah. Is that what we call it? The energy shifts? The cool factor goes up is, I think, what we should probably say.
Yeah.
Because I've got the energy. Joan's got the energy. But when you come in, it's cooler energy.
Can I be honest with you guys?
Sure.
I was very upset on my ride in.
Why is that?
Because Sam and Dan were bullying one Joan Jones when it came to aliens.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Aliens are real. Joan's a non-believer.
They're not real. Aliens are fake.
They are real.
No. They're interdimensional demons, and everybody knows it. That's just something that you need to come to grips with.
Okay.
Interdimensional demons.
So when E.T. is in Murfreesboro, will you then admit that you're wrong?
No, I will say that it's fake. I will say that is a hologram, and I don't believe it. I've gone on the record, and I've even said to my wife, write this down. When the aliens show up, I'm going to say this is fake.
And then they'll vaporize you, like we saw in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
That will also be fake.
Okay. You know what? Whether I believe that they're real or Sam believes that they're real or you and Joan believe that they're fake, doesn't matter when they come and kill us all. All I'll be able to do is say I was right.
If they were going to do that, they would have done it already.
I think so.
You know what? They're toying with us. You know that they're toying with us, right?
Yeah, they're just crashing their little vehicles all over the place in the U.S.
It's not just the U.S.
They're having their little fender benders, Dan.
Joan, quit being so myopic.
Oh, there we go.
There's that word.
So why is Dan happy? Because Chris and I were talking in the kitchen about how the Wally Bean machine has completely changed the attitude of the staff here at WTN. Our new coffee maker in the kitchen.
Everybody is downright chipper around here lately.
Do you know how caffeinated I am when I leave this radio station?
You don't have to go to Kami Coffee anymore, do you?
You know, so oddly enough, Joan, I was driving home yesterday and I was like, I don't feel like I want to go to Comic Coffee.
Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's been an absolute game changer. I think everybody needs a Wally's Bean machine in their office. Mm-hmm. Or
and by
just
the way,
kitchen.
they're not paying us to say this.
No, I would take one at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effortless.
I would.
I would too.
I texted that guy and said thank you.
Wally's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe Wally's avoiding me, but that's fine.
He hasn't texted you. He's ghosting you.
I've never heard from Wally.
Oh,
You
Wally,
have to
it's
reach
cool.
out to him first.
Well, I don't have the Wally Bean Machine hotline like you do, Joan.
Obviously, you are not a journalist who looks around for these telephone numbers and things like that because it's right on the machine.
Oh,
Like, right on the machine.
There's also a QR code.
Yeah.
whatever. You know what? Shut up, you three.
I wasn't even involved in that one.
You were smirking and laughing.
Secondary flack.
All right, so
I'm catching strays.
real quick. So people who watch Super Talk TV probably noticed in my last interview that I became obsessed with something that I saw on my hand. I'm in the middle of an interview, and I look at my hand. Now, just so you know, I'm very sensitive to skin cancer because, number one, I'm bald, and I got a lot of skin. And number two, both my mother and my father, and even my stepmom, all of them had skin cancer, like, incessantly.
Okay, well, that's terrible. But I'm still kind of giggling about you going, I have a lot of skin.
Yeah, me too.
That's a weird comment.
Yeah.
On my head, I'm completely bald. Nothing is up there to help me.
You have more than average skin?
That's private. That's personal.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
We always veer down this road. What is it with you two?
Chris does. I didn't do a thing.
I was just commenting on your comments.
Anyway, so I noticed in mid-interview that I was doing it the 806, where I've got this yellow, spot on my hand.
You have a discoloration.
I have a discoloration, and it's
Oh, no.
yellow.
It's probably cancer.
And so that's Joan knows me. So I in a 8-minute period, I go from discovering the discoloration on my hand
To like you're plotting out the funeral?
to plotting out the funeral. I'm texting it to. I took a picture. You can see all this on Super Talk TV. I take a picture. I send it to Amy in a text, and I said, "What the hell is this on my hand?"
So if the audience had trouble understanding who you were interviewing, you really didn't know what was going on.
So
because
then
you're concerned about the hand cancer.
And so Amy says, okay, so this is funny. Amy says, it looks like coffee on your hand. Does it smell?
So now you're smelling your hand?
Are you smelling your hand on the YouTube video?
I waited till the video was off.
Okay.
Which
must have killed you. That must have been the longest 3 minutes of your entire life. Because I imagine that text was back from Amy mid-interview. And so now you're sitting there going, do I smell it now or do I hold off?
Okay, honestly, I almost decided to go out of camera view so that I could smell my hand.
Why didn't you do like a little I'm just rubbing my nose here move?
You know what?
That's what I would have gone with.
I don't know.
Anytime I'm worried about hand cancer, I just rub my nose.
So then I end up taking a picture, sending to Amy. Then I told Sam.
Quick, WebMD this. I need to know.
Then I told Sam, I sent the same picture to Sam. Sam tells me to lick my hand, which I'm just not going to do. So
all of this is mid-interview.
No, this was actually after the interview was done.
Okay.
So Sam tells me to lick my hand. I said, no, I'm not going to lick my hand. And so
that's the quick that I've heard.
Would you lick your hand?
Doctors do it all the time.
Wait, is it on the palm or on the backside of your hand?
It's on the backside of over my my index finger knuckle is where it was.
I would give it a lick. Okay. Not your hand, but my hand.
Okay, well, I'm not going to lick anybody's hand, especially my own.
Okay.
So
you wouldn't have just done a little kitten in a milk saucer kind of lick?
No, I wouldn't. I know where my hands have been. So anyway, I went into the kitchen. Whole thing just completely washed off. I don't know what it was, but I had myself dead and buried in a matter of 10 minutes. Then I go into the kitchen and I wash it off, and it was fine. So I don't know what it was.
Could it have been a highlighter, like Were you using a highlighter?
No, I don't know what it was. Sam seems to think it perhaps Wally's bean machine is to blame.
It's the only negative thing that we've had since we've got the Wally bean machine is that Dan momentarily thought he had hand cancer.
I think maybe some of that syrup had ended up on the back of my hand. I should have just licked my hand.
You should have.
That's what I should have done.
Now we'll never know.
On camera.
On camera, that's exactly right.
Because sometimes skin cancer can come off like that, and then later on it'll grow back. And by that time, you're probably pretty close to death. So,
do you know that I actually, thanks, Joan. Do you know that I actually thought, okay, they could amputate at the wrist and I'd still be okay.
Yeah.
I'm walking, and I'm so funny. I'm literally walking out of the studio, and Sam is yelling at me through the talkback to lick my hand.
Lick it.
Lick it.
Sam said he could hear you yell through the glass. No!
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm not. Whatever. Anyway,
you're like the kids in A Christmas Story. I triple dog dare you to put your tongue on that.
That's exactly right. So apparently, it was a little Wally bean machine syrup that caused the.
Okay.
Real quick. So the Bears are moving out of Chicago.
This is one of the best stories that I've ever heard because who wants to be in Chicago? Does anybody actually
Literally
want to
nobody.
be in Chicago? So the Chicago Bears have been pushing for a new stadium, and they actually got a better deal to leave Illinois and potentially build a new dome stadium in Northwest Indiana. Indiana lawmakers in the State House Ways and Means Committee unanimously approved an amendment by a vote of 24-0 on Thursday that would clear a path for the Bears to build a stadium in Hammond, Indiana. But the funny part about this is Mayor Brandon Johnson, because he's going to blame the Bears for leaving, not the rampant crime, not the high taxes, not the cost of doing business in Illinois and in Chicago. He's going to blame the Bears, and it's really taking a toll on him.
All right, this is how it sounds.
Is my face straight? Okay. All right, keep a straight face here. The Bears belong in the city of Chicago. The Chicago Bears belong in the city of Chicago, right? And I've said repeatedly that the door is always open for conversations, and Kevin Warren did call me yesterday. We didn't get a chance to connect, and I still firmly believe that their best position is in Chicago, and it's evidence. The evidence is clearly speaking for itself.
The evidence of them leaving.
I was going to say, somebody get the U-Haul trucks.
Yeah.
Why does he? I like. By the way, the incredulous. Is my face straight? Yeah, whatever that was.
I gotta keep
what was
a
that
straight
all
face. I don't know if he thinks it's hilarious and he's laughing because the city's going to be losing more jobs and more revenue, or if he was trying to not cry.
There's a certain cachet with having the Bears stadium in Chicago.
Yeah,
but they're gonna lose hotel.
Yep.
And I don't know, how far is Hammond, you said?
Yeah. It's about 25 minutes south of where the stadium is now. But the revenue that you lose there is massive.
Yeah.
It's absolutely massive. And the Bears were good this year. They had some playoff games.
I don't think Indiana should get a shot at anything until they start doing redistricting the right way.
Based Joan.
Personally.
Based Joan.
What did she say?
She wants them to redistrict the right way. Because we have those state, they don't get anything.
Well, I think Indiana has done some of their own redistricting.
Yep.
Matter of fact. So,
but there are other teams that are on those state lines that could go over to a more conservative state and save some money. The Kansas City Chiefs are one. They're on the line between Missouri and Kansas, and if they went over to Kansas, they could save a lot of money too. And I think that there's a lot of franchises in sports like that who might look at an iconic franchise like the Bears and go, "Well, if they can do it."
Well, the Atlanta Braves left Fulton County.
Yeah.
They left Fulton County and they went to a neighboring county. I don't know what it's called. But, I mean, Fulton County was aghast. The Braves cannot possibly move out of Fulton County. Their previous stadium was actually called Fulton County Stadium. And they said, see ya.
But do you think this wakes up the Democrats that, you need to have a business-friendly environment so that way you can keep jobs and keep revenue in the city?
You would think, but I doubt it.
Or an environment that's not full of, killings and...
Right.
All kinds of crime and homelessness. I mean, honestly.
I mean, this stuff can destroy a city. When I lived in Pittsburgh, we were pretty close to Cleveland, and my wife had Cleveland as one of her markets that she would travel to. And we were there when they got LeBron back and then when they lost LeBron. And it's like you look at how much one thing can change the dynamics of revenue for a city. It's insane. It is mind-blowing. I mean, in Cleveland's case, they lost, 40 nights a year of good revenue in the city?
Yeah.
I mean, it's to a lesser extent with the Bears because it's not as many games, but you're losing a lot of money, man.
You're also losing identity.
Yeah.
Like if you're Chicago, Cobb County, thank you, folks, Cobb County, you're losing, again, the cachet of having the Bears in Chicago. That's number one.
Matt Murphy just texted me. He said Chiefs are already moving to Kansas.
Oh, are they?
I didn't know that. I don't pay attention to sports ball as much as I should.
Sports ball?
Yeah.
What does sports ball mean?
Just all things under the sports umbrella.
So if it's a ball, you just ignore it?
It's just sports
ball.
ball.
If it have a ball,
I don't pay much attention to sports ball, but I do pay attention to sad Democrats, and that's why I came across this story because of Mayor Brandon Johnson.
That's when you care about
That's when I care.
Sports ball.
That's when I care.
I'm just stuck on you calling it sports ball.
You've
I don't
never
even know
heard
what that
that
means.
before?
No.
Like Moneyball.
It's just like any and all sports. It's just sports ball.
It's sports.
Sports ball.
It's okay. You win, man. You win.
Also, Matt Murphy would like you to know he'll contribute a $100 to a charity of your choice if you lick your hand on Super Talk TV. So I will also contribute to that. Well, it'll be $107.
Wait, hold on. Time out.
Never forget the time me and Matt Murphy combined to donate $107 to a charity of your choice.
So you and Matt Murphy are both going to contribute to a charity of my choice.
If you lick your hand on Super Talk TV. But it's got to be a passionate lick.
Not the kitty lick?
No, not
No.
milk.
Not the
milk
little-
in a saucer. Not milk in a saucer. It's got to be passionate. And you got to look at the camera. You need to make eye contact when you do that.
No, I'm not. You know what?
Oh, you don't want to do it for charity, Dan?
I
You
was
don't care about
actually
the kids?
thinking
You
about
don't-
it until you
you
got
don't
into the
care-
whole.
You don't care about the kids?
Nobody wants to see me passionately licking anything.
I think that's the funniest part about it. You need to make eye contact with this camera right here while you do it.
I'm not going to do it. Now I can't even look at the camera now.
Dan doesn't care about charity.
You know what I was going to say? Forget about charity. I want you to buy 2 tickets for people to go to the Stake of the Union.
No, I'm actually going to take this charity lick, that idea that we have. I'm going to put it in my back pocket. And I'm going to save it for the next More Than a Meal Radiothon because I feel like we can talk you into it that day.
You know what? For the Nashville Rescue Mission, I might just do it.
Matt Murphy said Dan hates charity.
That's very funny. I hate this bit more than I hate charity. I love charity.
You just won't do anything for it.
Speaking of which, it's moving right along. Speaking of which, the Stake of the Union.
It's going to be a good night.
So here's the deal. I think that the 4 of us, we need to really hit this hard. We're like 28 tickets to being sold out. It's a very, not a private event, but intimate.
It's exclusive.
It's exclusive. That's the, yeah. So I've made it known, my desire, that I want to have the event sold out 5 to 9 during Nashville's morning news.
Okay.
I'm assuming that based on our past experiences, you want to sell out during your show. Chad wants it sold out during his show. I know how competitive Murphy's show is.
Oh, yeah.
So I want it to sell out during my show. So I'm going to try to hit it extra hard Monday and Tuesday. So it is going to be, and it's still time. We got 6 minutes left of this show.
We know that you like your steak well done.
Yes.
If we're at the Stake of the Union and you were to get some A1 on your hand, how are you going to deal with that?
I will not be licking it. That
Okay.
I can tell you.
All
and
right.
certainly not licking it passionately and looking at a camera.
Just staring at the audience.
Staring at the audience.
Just licking. That's gross. That's
man
a nasty
alive.
one. We can promise you Dan won't be licking anything at the Stake of the Union.
That is most certainly the case. But if you want to go anyway, because we do have other entertainment besides me licking my hands.
That's true.
Me, Chad, Matt, Chris, all going to be at the Stake of the Union. It is at Legend Steakhouse.
In Smyrna.
24th.
It's going to be...
next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Dude, it's basically here. So a lot of Democrats are boycotting the State of the Union speech. Mason has been sending out emails. Have you heard back from Maxine Waters?
No, she reclaimed her time.
Damn.
All right. Very good. So find tickets, 997WTN.com is where you can find tickets. we want to sell out during Nashville's morning news. So it's not too late to get your tickets now. And would love to see you there. Very quickly, Joan, what do we have coming up at 9? What?
Schools.
You nailed it.
Well done, Dan.
You
Yeah.
crushed that.
Yeah.
Way to end strong, Dano.
Shut up.